Hello and welcome to the Life by Design podcast, brought to you by Strategic. This podcast is all about helping you live your great life. Hello and welcome back to the Life by Design podcast. Today I'm joined by Nick Accordino, certified financial planner and lead advisor here at Strategic.
Hi, Jay. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, this is going to be great. And so for today's topic, we're going to talk about charitable giving, how that affects financial planning, all that good jazz. And the first thing I wanted to ask you, Nick, though, is tell us a little bit about your background in philanthropy.
Yeah, sure. So I'm in my third year here at Strategic, but previously worked in fundraising at a local university. So I had the privilege of working primarily with individual donors, some corporations as well, to identify the needs of the institution and how individuals can make that work with the financial assets that they've accumulated.
Yeah, and I think one of the things we're going to kind of cover today is financially, how that affects you. But I think one of the things too, how generosity is a key pillar of living your great life, right?
Yeah, living a great life is our mantra here, and it's something we talk about with our clients all the time. And there's enough information out there that suggests that those who volunteer at the organizations that are important to them and give away some of their assets to help support those financially can actually impact and increase your happiness and longevity. There are relations there. So, we see philanthropy as a key part of total financial plan for those who are, charitably inclined.
Yeah. And I think it seems like a no-brainer. Like if something makes you happy and you help support it, like, of course you're going to be happy.
Yeah, right.
Allegedly. And so, but, in addition to just my feelings and my great life, there's also some things specifically in retirement that charitable giving helps me with. Yeah,
of course. So if a client were to come to us with some ideas on some organizations they want to support, there are definitely tax advantage ways to take advantage of your assets and make those gifts. The first place we often always go to are what's called a qualified charitable distribution, sometimes known as a QCD. If a client is eligible, that's where we're going to first direct them to make their gift. You have to be 70 and 1/2 years of age. Don't tell me or don't ask me why the IRS picked that. Yeah. But the mechanics effectively are giving assets directly from your IRA to the organization. Why that's a big deal. If you were to take that out of your account and put it in your checking account and just spend it on what you wanted to do, you have to pay income tax on that, whatever your tax bracket is. Instead, if you give it directly to the organization, you pay no tax at all. So it could lower your overall taxable income for the year. In addition, if you are of age where you need to take distributions, often called a required minimum distribution, that'll satisfy your RMDs. So if the IRS says you have to take $50,000 out of your IRA this year, instead of taking it yourself and paying the tax on it, you can gift it to the charity, meet the RMD requirement, and avoid the taxes altogether.
Yeah. And that's something we've talked about before, and we're going to talk about in the future on this podcast. Something that people don't realize is the required minimum distributions, and those have to happen at certain ages.
No avoiding them.
Right. And so this is one way to, do what makes you happy and also, hopefully offset some of your tax burden.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that there's also different ways to look at it as well, right? So not just what's coming out of your IRA or cash that you have on hand, but like there's some appeal in gifting like long-term, like appreciated stock or real estate instead of cash, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's sort of the next place we'll look to a client's assets to see what's the right gift to make. If someone holds appreciated stocks or securities, fixed income instruments, various things like that. Again, if an individual takes that and sells that asset, takes it as income, they're paying likely capital gains tax on that, which is a little preferred than ordinary tax, but still a tax that you have to hit. Instead, an individual can take those shares of Apple or whatever has done well in your portfolio, gift that directly to the organization. And the tax advantage there is avoidance of capital gains, right? You're not getting hit with it because you're not selling the asset. You get a full fair market value deduction on the appreciation. And the organization, if they're a qualified nonprofit organization, can liquidate that, and they pay no tax on receipt, right? So you avoid the taxes, and the charity doesn't have to take the taxes as well. Gifting, and that's investment assets. Gifting real estate can get a little more complicated. If you're into that, I would certainly recommend working with your financial advisor and your tax advisor. You're going to want to make sure that the real property has been, valued and assessed appropriately, because that's going to be in play as well. But certainly, if you have a property that's appreciated well that you don't think you'll need and want to gift elsewhere, an organization, as long as they're able to take it, they would love to have it.
Yeah, and I think it's just nice to know for folks that there's multiple different avenues that they can approach this. They're helping their charity or whatever their philanthropy is. They're helping that, and they have multiple options.
Yeah, of course,
which is always good.
Yeah.
So there's this thing called bunching donations, and I'm trying to understand why it matters. Like, I guess for deduction thresholds now? Yeah,
exactly. So if you remember back in 2017, when the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act passed, the standard deduction level was increased to a point where now about 90% of individuals and households in this country just use the standard deduction. They do not itemize their deductions on their tax returns. Bunching sort of came about around that time, where the concept is if okay, over the next few years, I want to donate $30,000. Instead, if you have the ability, it may make sense to gift that amount, that $30,000, in one single tax year. And the advantage there is that may then push you over the standard deduction limit, where now you can itemize and you can actually gain the benefit from that deduction instead of spreading it out over multiple years. And there's a few different ways to do it. If you're just supporting one or a few organizations, you can gift directly to those in that same year. Oftentimes what we're seeing are clients opening and funding donor-advised funds, which are effectively mini foundations that you can manage, that you can recommend gifts from. And at the time, so you open the donor advised fund, you gift the asset to the fund, and then you get to control it. If you want to give it that year, you can. If you want to wait a couple of years and spread it out as you originally intended, you can do that as well. It gives you a lot more control and flexibility over your giving.
Yeah, I think that's cool too. Yeah, again, right? All these different avenues are just so great, so that there's not just one way to do this, which is amazing. So now, as things do, we have change. New bills are passed. Recently, there were some new rules around giving and like how it works now, and as of this recording. So like, what are some of the new things I should probably look out for if I'm into charitable giving? Yeah,
exactly. So there is certainly. Many of the rules have stayed the same, but there are new things that have been introduced. One of those is the floor for gifting if you are itemizing deductions. So previously, if you itemized and you gifted an amount, you could deduct that amount based on your AGI for the year. The new legislation that just passed introduces a floor, about 0.5% of your income for the year, that you must surpass. Then the deduction begins to kick in. Again, something you're going to certainly want to work with your tax advisor and your financial planner to make sure that you're in the right thresholds and you're meeting these these levels.
Yeah, and for us, it's just more like putting it on your radar as a listener of like, hey, this is something to look out for. As far as above the line giving incentives too, that there's a change there.
This is really exciting. So for individuals previously until this year, if you didn't itemize on your taxes, you were simply giving out of the kindness of your heart, which is incredible, but you were not receiving any tax benefit for that. It only went to those who itemized on their taxes. Now the new legislation is introduced, and above the line deduction for those who do not itemize. It's $1,000 for individual filers, $2,000 for families. That even if you do not itemize, if you can, family can gift up to $2,000 and they can deduct that from their income and can factor into their tax returns.
Yeah. I think that's great, Nick. And kind of wrapping up today, I think if we take anything away from this podcast, is there's multiple avenues for gifting, especially in retirement and 70 and a half and older. There's some ways to do that. And just remember that, I think it's both good for your great life and good for your taxes.
Yeah, exactly. So, oftentimes the gifting, you want to make sure that you have charitable intent and that you want to help make a big difference in the world. And if that's the case, and most people can answer yes to that question, work with your advisor and find the right way to do it that benefits you and benefits the organization and the people that you want to help.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks, Nick.
All right. Thank you, Jay.
This podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. Please see the full disclosure in our show notes for more information.